dwarf?
Female dwarf as a female dwarf.
You know, first impressions are very important.
Hi, my name is Nazgul with an O, and as someone who is kinda, sorta, not really, kinda accidentally named after Tolkien's characters, I took offense of whatever Amazon is trying to shove down our throats as the Rings of Power. And after being bombarded by Amazon with awful teasers and the production company and the actors, sorry, not actors, activists, I can't even call them actors anymore, literally telling the fans to shut up and accept whatever they put in front of us. So I decided to start a series of character analysis and compare it to the Rings of Power and see what is different from Tolkien's work to whatever they're showing us.
Go back to the book, go back to the book, go back to the book.
So I did. And I couldn't find anything that they're showing on the trailers. I have no idea who the hell is this, what is this supposed to be. We have hobo hobbits now, and what the actual F is this? And of course, this one. So Jeff Bezos one day was like, hey, I want to have my own Game of Thrones series to attract more customers. So he hired Dumb and Dumber, two people who have proven over and over again that they have no knowledge of Tolkien's works. And I decided to make a series that had absolutely nothing to do with talking, basically. And I want you to understand that this has been greenlit for 5 seasons. So what they are saying is that we don't give two shits about the fans, book and movie fans, and we know for a fact that everyone will watch this. Every reaction is a good publicity tool for them. I mean, you've seen the cast interviews, right? Listen, I want to keep the whole diversity talk for my Disa, the first female dwarf of color video. I already covered how forced diversity can harm adaptations in my previous video. You can find it somewhere here. But today I want to focus on Galadriel, since she seems to be the main protagonist of the show. She's front and center in all the teasers and trailers we've seen so far. I know that in the modern times, the favored species from Middle-earth are hobbits, but for Tolkien it was always about the elves. If you're not familiar with his writing style, basically he wrote a mythology first and added a very solid theology system to it, and then created languages because he was a philologist. And the first story that he started to write was about elves mostly. The world of Lord of the Rings is basically about a realm that magic is dying in it, and is all about fulfilling one's fate and destiny. He really dug into North and Western Europe mythology and folklore. But what was different in his work, and what stood out for me the most, is that in Arthurian mythology, magic is linked to paganism. And the whole quest for finding the Holy Grail and miracles and finding immortality and forgetting magic and wizards is all about finding Christianity and leaving pagan gods behind. Now, Tolkien has a different view when it comes to magic. To him, magical creatures are divine, they are sacred, and them dying and them leaving the Middle-earth not only is the end of an era, but a very sad and essentially damaging one for those who remain in Middle-earth. The story ends with elves leaving the Middle-earth and going back to the Undying Lands, which is the fate of the elves, which Galadriel, among other characters of the story, do leave. But for instance, Arwen remained in Rohan with Aragorn and refused the fate of elves. So when she dies eventually, she won't be back to the Undying Lands, but her soul will go where human soul would go.
I mean, you gotta love a supportive girlfriend.
In terms of physical appearance, Galadriel was described as being very tall and athletic, to the point that her mother called her Newwen, or man-maiden. Man as in male, like, okay? Not man, the human. They didn't have humans back then. And she was born in Valinor in the years of the trees, before the First Age. And her hair is described to be both golden and silver, and it holds the magic of the trees. In Peter Jackson movies, it was adapted beautifully. The soft light and the style of her hair really does give the feeling of that, yes, this creature carries magic in every inch of her body. And there's a very important storyline involving her hair and how Fëanor admired it for years and asked for a strand of her hair 3 times, which she always refused it. And when Gimli in Lord of the Rings admired her hair, she gave him 3 strands of her hair, which is just so freaking cute. She was of loyalty and was the youngest and only daughter of the family. And it is said that she trained with her 3 older brothers and was a very skilled fighter and knew how to wield a sword. This is a characteristic that Tolkien gives to all of the women, especially the ones who have brothers, that they always are trained and ready for battle, but not necessarily going to battle. In some tales, she was also depicted with the powers of communicating over vast distances, predicting the future, and even cloaking her mind from other tremendously powerful beings. She once stated that Sauron could not perceive her mind, though she could perceive his. I can't really call her power as simple as mind reading, as it was mostly looking at people's intentions, and I prefer to say she read hearts and souls rather than their minds. Much of Galadriel's story is confusing, and there are several distinct tales told about her collected in Unfinished Tales. According to the older account used in the Silmarillion, Galadriel was an eager participant and leader in the rebellion of the Noldor and their flight from the Valinor, due to her desire to one day rule over lands in Middle-earth herself. However, I couldn't find any evidence in Tolkien's writings and letters that she was an active soldier in front lines, killing and slaying orcs and getting dirty and bloody. I always felt like she was a leader and a mind behind the army, that she remained in the tents rather than in the middle of the battle. But if you have any further knowledge from Tolkien's books or writings or letters, please comment it down below.
Stop! Wait! No! We keep moving!
My problem with this part of the trailer is that ambition doesn't necessarily comes with malice or cruelty. And I don't think the writers understood that part correctly. She had a very kind nature even in her youth, and she was a symbol of hope and wisdom. So she would never leave behind any man. I don't know how they wrote this part. Galadriel did have beef with Sauron because he was responsible for killing her brother Finrod, who got bitten by Sauron's werewolf and died in the darkness. Again, we have no record of her getting into this revenge quest. This is something that they changed for the series. Now, revenge plots are frowned upon by scriptwriters. It's such a weak and stretched out plot device and motivation that you can give your characters. And here we are with Hollywood's oversimplification of complicated storylines because they don't trust audiences to connect with the complicated story. In Peter Jackson's adaptation, Kate Blanchett played the part with grace, poise, and dignity. Her performance in the mirror scene with Frodo always gives me chills, and the way she moved was very elephant-like, which is a very smooth and slow movement, which really showed how time moves differently for them on account of them being immortals. She was convincing as hell in that part, as well as the rest of the cast. I understand on a scriptwriting point of view that if you have a main character who moves this slowly all the time, it would get tiring and boring very fast. But Morfydd Clark from the trailers gives more of a hostile and aggressive performance, especially in her delivery of dialogues.
It's over.
You have not seen what I've seen.
I have seen my share.
You have not seen what I have seen.
Top-notch dialogue writing, by the way. Now, tell me, with these descriptions of her, would you imagine her like this, ever? Manspreading, holding huge swords? Listen, Tolkien had a deep understanding of feminine energy, And since he used Old English and Northern folklore as inspiration, which elves had more of an angelic and magical nature, he knew how much witchcraft and magic is linked with feminine energy. And this energy, unlike the popular belief, is not soft and motherly or merciful, but it can be quite dangerous and powerful. Peter Jackson did in fact make a lot of changes for adapting Lord of the Rings, which most of them turned out to be fantastic. In the scene when Frodo offers the ring to her, in the movie, we get a glimpse of her power and what she can be if she has the ring. In the books and in the 1978 animation, she throws her head back and laughs and refuses the ring. The scene in the movie has haunted me for years, and I love it because I know that Jackson knew how necessary it is to show Galadriel at this ultimate feminine energy. And her feminine power and magic is depicted as almost scary. Now, take a look at this piece of crap here. Woke Hollywood has zero understanding of how to show feminine power, and for them, having a strong female character equals a woman who acts like a man and is stripped away from all her feminine temperaments, let's say. And we can clearly see it here too. Galadriel is the new Captain Marvel. Okay, in terms of costume, especially this armor, which it does have a very manly build to it. At first I thought it's for a new Joan of Arc movie. I wish they gave her breastplates and mixed it with flowy fabric. Because don't forget, she is of magic and she was always been one of the most powerful elves, even before her ring of water. So she doesn't really need an armor in a traditional sense. In my next video, I will talk about dwarfs, especially Disa, the new dwarf of color that we got. I'll try to fit her into the fabric of the story and, try to fix the damn character. I don't know. Damn you, Jeff Bezos, you greedy bald bastard. Ugh.